The number one question every American is asking is, can we afford it? Can we afford the food costs? Can we afford the gasoline costs? Can we afford the Democrats' policy when it comes to crime, where it continues to rise? Can we afford the Democrat policy when it comes to our border that's killing young kids throughout this country because of the fentanyl? Can we afford weak foreign policy that makes the world unsafe? Can we afford the Democrats' policy when it dismantles America's ability to become energy independent? The real answer is we cannot afford it. So as the Republicans here will lay out an agenda, a commitment to America, that if they will give us the opportunity to become the majority, that we will govern differently. We'll make the commitment to you to bring us energy independence, lower the inflation causing Democratic policy, secure our border, make our streets safe again, and make peace through strength. With that, let me open up for questions, but thank all of you for coming to even cover our conference. Yes, ma'am.
I know that this, of course, is a lot about policy, but I'm wondering how a number of, thank you very much. I know that this is focused on policy, but I'm wondering how much you see some of these policies that are going to be coming out of this retreat going to be playing a role as lawmakers begin to hit the campaign trail.
Well, we make policy, but to make policy, you first have to get elected. So I believe the policies that we lay out to the American public will not only bring Republicans to the ballot box, but we're looking throughout the polling as well, from independents, from Democrats, from all aspects of America. They have rejected these Democratic policies, and I think they'll be very open and welcoming to what we're laying out, having listened to them and drive. Yes, ma'am.
Mitch McConnell decided not to put out an agenda, so can you talk about why you thought it was important to put out a policy agenda, and what more can you tell us about timing and how much work you've already done on it?
I think elections are important, but I think it's more important than just running against another party, but tell the American public what you will do. For us to solve the problems in America, you cannot do it alone. We need the American public to join with us. And for American public to join with you and support you, we first want to know, what will you do? Having spent the last year and a half listening to them, crafting the policy as we've gone through from the Parents' Bill of Rights, that we think parents should have a say in their kids' education. They should know what's being taught at the school. They should know if there's harassment or an incident on campus as well. We think the border should be secure. Why? Because we see it every single day. The challenge is what's causing. We don't think it's right that people on the terrorist watch list are walking into our country. We wonder why, who they're talking to, and what they have planned. We don't think it's right when we pick up the paper every single day and we see a new overdose. Just 2 weeks ago, I read of 6 young college kids to have overdose down in Florida. They're West Point kids. It can affect any single kid in the country. 2 of them overdosed not because they took a drug, but because they gave CPR, not knowing that fentanyl was laced. That's happening in every single city. It doesn't matter your wealth, your gender, or the color of your skin. Why? Because fentanyl is coming from China across a border that is open into America. There's enough here today to kill every single American 7 times over. That's the Democratic policy. I think it's important that we lay out to the American public so they can join with us so we can make this difference. That's why we're doing it.
Timing, when do you think it'll be released?
Well, as you notice, there's a number of things we have already rolled out. As we focus more on this retreat, you'll see more as we go forward rolling out, and I believe by the end of the summer, you'll see the complete package, yes.
In a couple of minutes, you'll be hearing from Newt Gingrich. Thank you. In a couple of minutes, you'll be hearing from Newt Gingrich, speaking to you. He's participated in conference calls. Your agenda rollout has been described as something along the lines of a contract with America. How involved is he? Is he helping in consulting? Is he giving advice? Or I'm just curious what his level of involvement is.
Newt has been a dear friend of mine and a mentor of mine for many of years. And I've consulted Newt throughout all the time. I think he comes up with a lot of big ideas and good ideas. He was one of the individuals, if you notice, we don't have many speakers here on purpose, because we want the engagement from the members themselves coming up with this. But there's a few speakers we wanted to make sure we have. The number one, I wanted to have Newt. He watched a chance where Republicans, when no one thought you can win. If we're successful and we win 18 seats, that's the same as the 1994 revolution. But it's different than just recruiting candidates and raising money. It's what you do with it. You make a commitment to the American public. Stop this rising cost in everything we have. Gasoline, I just paid $6.59 in California. We could become energy independent. And we watch in the world today, it's not just your military that makes you strong, it's your economy and your ability for energy independence. God has blessed this nation with the ability to do it. It also blessed us with the ability to be an opportunity to send it to other countries. So they don't have to be beholden to Putin. And you know what else happens? As Garrett Graves will tell you, American natural gas is 41% cleaner than Russian natural gas. If you care about the economy, or if you care about the environment like we do, there's a better way to do it. And so what I see as we move forward is Newt can tell us kind of the challenges that he had. How did he do something that most people didn't think was possible? We only need 5 seats to win the majority. But the idea isn't to fight to win the majority. It's a fight to change the country, to lower the price of rising goods, to secure our borders, to make sure we're energy independent, to make sure our streets and schools are safe again, and make sure the next century is ours. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I know you guys are rolling out your NRCC internal polling today and talking to members about what that looks like, and it seems to have you poised to win back the House with the way things are going right now. And I'm wondering what that looks like next year when you have the majority. Will there be this bipartisanship that has been happening for the past few months over Ukraine, over things like violence against women, arbitration? What will that look like in a House, in a GOP-controlled House?
Well, I'll tell you what it looked like in the House. On the very first day, members will have to start showing up to work. No longer will we have proxy votes. No longer will the Capitol be closed to the public. No longer will bills just be written in the Speaker's office and brought to the floor. We'll work in the committees itself. I took a number of members with me to MIT last week, where we spent 2 days, where we looked at from AI to quantum. What I believe will have to happen in the next, no longer will we have an intel committee that's a political committee. They missed what was happening in Afghanistan. They missed what was happening in Ukraine because they spent too much time doing politics for the last 4 years. I believe those who want to serve on intel or armed services should go through the 6-week course, Republicans and Democrats alike, so they know the challenges of where we are and the threats, but also our strengths and where we should invest. We should not sit back here and watch China and Russia to have a hypersonic missile and America struggle with it. We should be prepared for what the future holds. And so we will act differently, but this Congress will be different. It'll be focused on solutions. And we're willing to work with anybody that wants to work on solutions. But I'll tell you that will be a challenge. I cannot believe that we have a majority party that not one of them in their conference has ever brought up the rising prices of gasoline. Not one of them. Has there been one family in America that hasn't brought it up to each other about how much they're paying for gas? But in the majority in Congress, maybe that's why they haven't done anything about it. Listen, we'll have the courage to listen to the American public, but we'll have the wisdom to lead. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You all have mentioned that the point of these task forces are not just to propose, but also roll out a number of policies you all hope can get done if you're in the majority. I think one of you actually said focus on the policies and not the politics. There is a group in your own conference that does tend to focus more on the politics, and I'm curious to hear from you, how are you going to make sure that if you do regain the majority, you all do remain united to deliver on a number of policies?
I think what you see right now, you see a united conference. You see just behind me, people are in different conferences and all, but they all belong to one conference, the Republican conference. They will all make a commitment to America. They'll all focus on keeping that word to the American public. I think you'll be very impressed what we're able to do. Unfortunately, we're at our conference is a little different than the Democrats. They let buses run for 8 hours, only because their own internal conference couldn't decide whether they would vote for their appropriation bills, just the rule. They continue to fight with one another. I don't see that in our conference. And the one thing I will say to the American public, you may not have looked at the Republican Party in the last couple of years. We want you to relook at us. We want you to give us your input. We want you to join with us because we think it's more important that America wins than the idea that you're too afraid to stand up to fight for lowering the gas prices. We think there's an opportunity for everybody in this party. All right, last question.
Thank you. You talked about foreign policy, China, Taiwan. I just want to ask you, what lessons have the U.S. learned from Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and that could be a guide in shaping its relation with Beijing? So you talked about this, but can you please explain how should the U.S. prepare for a potential crisis in Taiwan?
Okay, the first thing, if you're talking about Russia invading Ukraine, there's a lot of lessons to be learned. The first one was how this president got out of Afghanistan, creating 13 more Gold Star families. The second lesson that should be learned is don't allow Putin to control a certain industry in a certain continent. By denying America to being energy independent in a pipeline, but allowing a pipeline for Putin sends all the wrong messages. Be very clear on what you believe. So a president shouldn't stand in the White House and say, it's different if Russia invades Ukraine and tries to take it all over than a little bit. That sends a wrong message as well. So what I would tell is take the lessons from here and apply them to Taiwan. Don't put American troops in harm's way. Let Taiwan defend themselves. So stop holding up weapon sales to Taiwan. Let them defend themselves. Also, what you need to do is do not let China corner markets. When you look at what happened in America, just from our medical supply, when you look what China is doing when it comes to critical minerals, when you look time and again what China has done on stealing our technology. You know, I was at the 75th anniversary of Normandy, and I was walking the graves with the speaker. And when you look at the graves and the names on them, they either have a Star of David or a cross. They're all pretty close in the same age, and they all died in about the same time. And you wonder the exact same question you asked me, I asked myself. What could we have done as a nation? Not on that day, but the years before, so that day never happened. Well, I think Russia invading Crimea, we should have said something different. I think creating an agreement with Iran that allowed them to have a nuclear weapon in a certain time frame, but also billions of Americans' dollars, and they funded terrorism around the world, and you said nothing, I think that built into Ukraine getting invaded as well. I went to Pelosi, the speaker at the time, and I asked, could we create a committee with an equal number of Republicans, an equal number of Democrats, to look at the industries that China has cornered the market on? It took me 8 months to finally get her to say yes. We had the Washington Post come in and actually interview the people we were going to appoint. And the night before the appointment, they called me and said no. How can we have hundreds of thousands of Americans killed by COVID, but a government that will not look and know where the origins have created? How can you have an attorney general that thinks terrorism is American parents who care to go to a school district meeting? How can you have an IRS department that's so powerful but will release Americans' tax returns? So it's not just policies we will do in the majority. We will hold this administration accountable. Those are the lessons we learned with Ukraine. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the conference.